Okay, folks, we're going to wait just a couple more minutes. We're looking for a quorum. We just need a couple more members. Thanks. goes back to the 5. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Chairman Tarvin for an invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we ask for your guidance in all that we do, and may the decisions we make be what is best for the citizens of Georgia. And we enter into these very important bills. We ask for your guidance, lead, guide, and direct. For in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have 2 bills on the agenda today, moving some fine Senate bills. Are these senators here? I don't get credit for saying that? Okay. You know, we could have got this meeting finished, but Chuck Martin did show up. That's okay. I'm just messing with you, Chairman Martin. So both sponsors of Senate Bill 322 and 328 are preoccupied. So we're going to have some the House sponsors as well as some key advocates instead present these bills. I'd like to take up Senate Bill 328 first, if I could. Yeah, do you gentlemen mind coming to the podium? It would be better, particularly for video, if we could do that. And let's see. See if that's working.
Yeah. Well. Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Representative Crow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is Senate Bill 328, and I'm joined by Homer Bryson from the POAB, Police Officers Annuity and Benefit Fund, who will be talking to you in just a minute. This bill makes some changes to that fund in basically 3 different areas. There's some administrative updates, improved benefits for members, and membership dues increase. The administrative changes, essentially they make a more concise definition for a peace officer that's more in line with the post definition. It also changes the updates job titles and duties, board powers and duties, and the application process. It enhances some of the benefits for members. The 5-year waiting period for buybacks is removed now. So the day they join the fund, they can buy back up to 5 years. The original bill had increased the buyback period from 5 years to 7 years, but I believe in this substitute that we've got now, that has been removed, and they can still only buy back 5 years, but they can buy back those 5 years immediately upon joining the fund. Another change that's in here increases the death benefit from $5,500 with restrictions to $10,000 without restrictions, and the current, the $3,500 will be increased to $5,000. That's death benefits. One's line of duty, yeah, sorry. One's line of duty, one's outside the line of duty. I apologize. And then it increases the membership dues from $25 per month to $35 per month. So there's no cost to the state. The actuarial study shows no cost to the state. And I'd let Mr. Bryson provide any other information or help answer any questions if y'all have any, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bryson?
I'm good unless there's questions, Mr. Chairman.
If you could, Homer, just give, I apologize, I had to learn this last summer when we got together, but could you just give people an overview of the Peace Officers Annuity Benefit Fund and what it does and so forth?
Yes, sir, be glad to. The fund was established in code about 1950, and what it sets up a retirement plan for city, county, and state law enforcement officers. About 40% of our membership are city officers, about 40% are county officers, and about 20% are state officers. We have 15,000 active members, in round numbers, 8,000 retirees. We pay a retirement benefit. The max amount that we're currently paying is $900 a month, plus the death benefits that were mentioned. We pay roughly $4.7 million a month in retirement benefits, and our fund is currently valued probably somewhere around $975 million, and we're roughly mid to high 80% funding ratio. So the fund's sound and in good shape. And everything here is, again, it's been through the actuarial process. We are increasing member dues. We're not asking for any state funds or any increases in any other fees. and those increases in the member dues will cover the cost of this proposed bill.
So I wanted to just verify, let me just ask the question in a way that's verifying for the committee. There was an actuarial report dated October 30th on the Senate bill that was, I think LC 432834ER. That had a fiscal cost of $10.7 million of unfunded liability. But again, like you and I have talked, Mr. Bryson, this does not require any obligation, either current or future, to the state. This is just created by state statute, but there is no obligation by the state, either current or future, to support the POAB, correct? This particular retirement plan, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And based on that actuarial report, this created an unfunded actuarial liability of $10.7 million. And then we made some changes here in House retirement. Representative Crowe, I think we're working off of LC 560178S.
Yes, sir.
Those changes that were made, and there were just two changes, and I'm happy to go over it for the committee. Those were deemed non-fiscal amendments per the letter from Mr. Griffin, our friends across the street over here. And those, again, those two amendments were going back from amending back from 7 years of buyback to 5 years of buyback. And then also Legislative Council helped us to clarify some language in regard to service. Okay. Questions from the committee? I saw Chairman Martin. Yes, I believe it is.
Quorum. Tell me what you mean when you're talking about buyback.
When if you want to, it doesn't matter. When an officer gets into law enforcement, they think when they join that they're not going to stay in it, or their agency doesn't, they don't get the information about the retirement fund, so they're accruing time that they could have been eligible to be a member, and for whatever reason they don't join. Maybe they find out later they're going to stay in law enforcement, or they find out about the fund, and so you go back and pay the actuarial cost of the time that you were actually eligible as a peace officer to have been a member of the fund.
Okay, follow-up question?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, this is a defined benefit plan that if they don't join in the beginning, or if they do join in the beginning and they leave early, they don't get they get the money that they put in back, but they don't get the money that was put in on their behalf back. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If they don't make vesting, if you will. So I'm trying to figure out why anybody, if they could wait 7 years, why would they put any of their money in the plan until after 7 years if they know they can come back at 6.5 years and buy back their time? Why wouldn't they invest their own money in something else and then come back and buy back their time at 7 years?
Well, sorry. In this one, they can't do it for 7 years now. That part in this sub has been changed. It's not 7 years anymore, it's 5 years. And there is no employer.
Well, they had to wait 7 years prior to be able to do any buyback, and now they can do that after 5 years. Is that
right?
not,
But that would be, there really wouldn't be any benefit to that, because they could join then. If you have to wait 5 years after you find out about it after you join, you're just buying back those 5 years that you found out about it after you joined.
You're buying back a guaranteed return after you have already gotten the benefit of investing your money otherwise and gotten a return that may have been long. You either have a defined benefit plan or you don't.
Yeah.
And
there's no match on the employer part of this too, by the way. Like, this is only the officers putting in money to this.
I understand. I understand that, but I just wonder how it impacts the other folks in the plan. I mean, we oftentimes, is it not true, when we do these things, we say there's no cost now, there's no cost in the future. There's always a cost because there's a projected return on investment. If that's not met, it comes out of somebody's hide. I mean, in the case of the state benefit plan or TRS, it's either the employees, the employer, or rate of return is what gets you there. In this case, as Representative Crowe said, it's just the employee and the rate of return.
So the buyback time, if to buy it back, it's bought back at a full actuarial cost. So it actually would cost the individual more money to buy that time back versus just being a member of the fund from the beginning.
Right, because they're buying back the return, but they also had the use of their money for that 5 years. They're buying back a guaranteed return in the, okay, I mean, I'm not going
return's
to belabor
gonna
the
be-
point. I mean, it's just, it's an issue, either you have a defined benefit plan or you don't have a defined benefit plan. And it's like the one-time example in TRS that the university system employees, you get a one-time revocable chance to make a decision, and then people don't make it, and they come back to us and they want to make it later. So I won't belabor the point. I have a pause with either you're in or you're out. And
Well, from a practical standpoint, I can tell you how it worked for me. When I went to work for the Clayton County Sheriff's Office, nobody knew anything about the POAB. I stayed there a little over a year, then I went to Henry County, and it was another 2 years before I really found out about the POAB. When I joined the POAB, I had to wait 5 years before I could buy back those initial 3 years that I had missed. So then I was 8 years in that I could have bought back. So this allows them to buy back. When they join the fund, they can buy back whatever time and service they have, up to 5 years. But it's going to be at the actual actuarial rate that it would have cost them had they joined from the beginning. They're not saving any money. And none of us and none of them usually are skilled enough or think far enough ahead to think, I'm going to take my money now and invest it in something else that gets a higher rate of return and then go back and get this. The benefit's going to be the same no matter when they buy it. So, thank you.
I think I just want to, if I could, sorry about that, Chairman Martin. I just want to clarify for the committee. So I think we are talking about two different things. I'm hearing two different things. I want to make sure the committee is clear. There is a provision on line 551. I'm sorry, it's 558 on the substitute. You see that line? Any non-retired member of the fund may claim a maximum of 5 years for service rendered. Is that the same, legislative council, is that the same as 551, line 551 in the original, where the 5 was changed to 7?
The only change between this and this other, that word.
Right, so in the version that passed the Senate made a policy change such that the amount of time that can be bought is increased from 5 years to 7 years. We have taken that back to be the 5 years. The second thing to be that we're talking about, and I think Chairman Martin zeroed in on it, is the amount of wait period until you do such service buyback. Chairman Martin, did I say that correct?
yes, sir, that's one of the things. And then you also point out on 555, previous policy had been that you couldn't buy back that time, and there's a policy reason for that, and I'm curious as to why that's changed. I mean, I understand the benefit for the officers that benefit from it, but I'm concerned about the members that are in the plan currently that didn't get the same benefit. I mean, I won't belabor the point. I mean, I can talk to the gentleman offline, and the committee can move.
So
on.
I think if I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you concerned that this would dilute returns and liquidity and funding percentage for existing participants if you allow more?
Yeah, but by definition, mathematically, when you buy back time in a defined benefit plan, it's an advantage by the very mathematical definition. If it weren't, you wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
So, I mean, and if it's an advantage, it's a zero-sum game. If it's an advantage for the people that are buying it back, then it's a disadvantage to others in the plan, and that just gives me pause. If overall the members of the plan are helpful of their brothers and sisters in law enforcement, I'm not going to belabor the point, but I just want to acknowledge it is a zero-sum game, I believe, and if it's an advantage to somebody, then it's by definition a disadvantage to someone else. It may be a small one, but I just want to acknowledge that for the current members.
Thank you. Thank you. Chairman Tarman, and then Mary Frances, right after.
I don't use the microphone. What did you say your monthly pay after retirees is now?
4.7 million a month.
I'm sorry, okay.
That's not per person though, just in case you're wondering.
Oh, yeah.
That's not per person, just in case you're wondering.
Representative Mary Frances Williams.
So I worked for years with the School Nutrition Association, and those folks, we call them lunch ladies, a lot of the time we're in the PSERS system. And these folks kind of remind me of a similar situation. You know, I think they would have to have a windfall or win the lottery to buy back. I mean, I wonder, I can't imagine that very many people would even think of doing a buyback. I mean, to have that kind of financial planning expertise. And secondly, I just can't imagine many of them make the money to be able to save to be able to do a buyback. I just can't imagine it, because these people are not making big salaries. They're not making the big bucks, and I think we should do everything we can for them. Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? I did have a question, if I could, maybe for Vice Chairman Crow. Let's say someone goes to work for a police department somewhere in one of our counties, and they're 30 years old and they're making $80,000 or something like that. In what scenario would someone want to do this much of a buyback, up to a 5 years of buyback, and not have a waiting period to do that? Can you describe that? Or maybe Mr. Bryson, either one. I think you did describe it a moment ago, but could you elaborate a little bit? What would be the advantage? And I think that's what Chairman Martin's getting to. What would be the advantage or reason for doing so?
Well, the advantage is that the reason you'd want to buy it back is that when you get to age of retirement, you'll have 3 more years of creditable service in your retirement plan with POAB. So if you retire after 20 years and you didn't join until, in my case, you'd been in 3 years or what have you, then you'd only have 17 years of benefit at POAB. So if I bought that back when I retired at 20 years, I'd have all 20 years of retirement benefit from POAB.
And about how many people that are members of POAB, Mr. Bryson, about how many are doing some sort of a buyback under these scenarios?
I'll be honest, I don't have that number. I'll be glad to get it, but it's a small number. Part of the rationale of why not to have a wait period to buy back time is because the longer you wait, the more expensive it is to buy back time. And so it discourages people from buying back time. And by being able to make it more affordable on the front end, something that they've worked and are eligible for, I think as you build in that time earlier in their retirement, in some ways you're actually helping with retention, which, as we all know, is a big problem in law enforcement.
Okay. Any other questions for committee? Representative Lim.
Yeah, I'm just curious, could you explain a little bit more about why officers don't become aware of this until a few years, and are there other methods that you all are doing to help them become aware, so that to the extent that there is this buyback, we don't know, as Chairman Martin said, I believe that there is a cost, that we can reduce that cost even under this bill?
Part of one of the changes in the bill is that it's going to require agencies to provide this information to officers as they hire them and onboard them and become eligible, and provide them with a certificate of employment, which is one of the requirements to join the fund. We've changed some of the other requirements on the front end that officers have to provide to be able to join the fund, to make it easier for officers to get into the fund on the front end, and then we'll get those documents, you know, as they're a member later. But we're working, trying to encourage as many people on the front end to join as we possibly can.
We have another question from Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I had too many committees today.
We all do this time of year.
I'm not as concerned about the buyback because I feel like that happens fairly infrequently. I am still concerned about where, if you start this plan and then someone's ready to retire pretty quick in the process, I'm concerned about the funding of the plan, and I may have missed that, and if I did, I'm sorry, but how is it going to be funded well enough for the first person that wants to retire if it's pretty quick after we establish this?
Mr. Bryson can answer that.
Well, this is not a new plan. This plan has been in place since 1950, so it's well established. And to vest in this plan, you have to have 15 years. So nobody's going to join this plan and then retire. You have to have a minimum of 15 years to vest in the plan.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry I missed that, and you had to repeat it.
Any other questions to the committee? We don't have anybody else signed up to speak on this measure. I did have one question. I think I'm hearing the committee talk about it a little bit, but Mr. Bryson, can you talk about how removing the wait period for buying back up to 5 years, how is that going to help with retention? And I believe what Representative Williams said was very accurate, or I'm sorry, Representative Buckner said it was very accurate that, these are very expensive, can be very expensive buybacks if they're done. So how does this exactly help retention within law enforcement?
Typically in my experience in law enforcement is people get in law enforcement and they leave within the first 5 to 7 years. If they stay beyond that, typically they're going to stay. So if you've got somebody that stays to that point, if they've got time that they can build into the system, so they see, if I've got 5 years left in my career to be able to vest in something versus 15 years to be able to vest, it's just an incentive, it's a fringe benefit that I think helps people decide to stay in the profession.
Okay. Representative Williams?
When the time is appropriate, I'd like to make a motion to pass.
Okay. Any other comments from the committee? Now's the time to make a motion. We got a motion to pass. Is there a second? Second from Representative Deloach. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations. Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chairman,
Thank
committee
you.
members.
There we go. I think you're much better looking than Larry Walker, Mr. Chairman. Oh, I am Michael. I'm sorry, Michael Callahan. I'm very sorry. I confused this writing with a 322, not a 328. I did not recognize you, and I know you signed up. Did you? Thank you so much. Can you come here real quick? We already passed the bill, but I really do apologize.
The perfect time to speak is after you've passed it. So my name is Mike Callahan. I represent the Georgia Fraternal Order of Police and our 7,400 members across the state. And we are absolutely in support of this bill.
Okay.
I think it goes a long way to support our membership. So
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. I apologize for that. Okay. Representative Williams, I know that you had, it's chaotic here at the Capitol. You had very little preparation. I understand that, and I sympathize with that. Can I have Terry Norris come on up? Good deal, good deal. So, Noel, do you want to give us a 10 seconds over on?
Sure, I can give a couple of minutes. Thank you, members, for hearing me today. Larry called me 10 minutes before I came in here and asked me if I could present for him. So here I am, and my sheriff just walked in, so y'all all wave to Sheriff Billy Hancock from Crisp County. So glad to have y'all here today. This has to do with the Sheriff's Retirement Fund. This does not cost the state of Georgia anything. This was established back in 1963, and all we're asking is to increase it and let the sheriffs pay for it. The fund requires no state funding, like I said, and exists through member dues. Presently, there are 194 retired sheriffs and or beneficiaries supported by this fund with another 8 who will soon retire or will soon reach retirement age. There are also 154 sitting sheriffs who are members of the fund who will eventually receive benefits upon retirement. The monthly benefit is based on current amount of $172.47 multiplied by the years of service. The fund balance as of September the 30th, 2023 was $101,758,000. SB 322 authorizes several important improvements to the current law. Section 1 increases the contribution from $37.50 a month to $65 per month to cost the members. They must pay to purchase up to 4 years prior military service and or up to 4 years prior law enforcement service. A maximum of 8 years prior service can be purchased. The provision has not been modified since 1994. This year I graduated from university. Section 2, that increases from $45 to $65 monthly dues paid by the sheriffs currently holding office. This provision hasn't been modified since 2000. Section 3 establishes a fee of $2 to be collected by clerks of the court in criminal cases where defendants have been sentenced to diversion programs rather than incarceration. Section 4 increases from $1 to $5 fees collected in for the service of process and civil actions. This provision hasn't been modified since 1991. And Section 5 prohibits payments from the fund to retire sheriff's members convicted of felony offenses related to the office of sheriff. And then Section 5 increases the death benefit from $15,000 to $35,000. These are a few changes that SB 322 requires, and at this time I'm going to let the experts speak to it, and I ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did want to point out before we brought up the speakers, this is, and I've been speaking with Mr. Norris on and out during during this session and in prior sessions, and I think this is something the sheriffs have been working on multiple years. Is that not fair, Mr. Norris? Okay. And there has been pushback in our chamber, more so than the other side, but there's been pushback in our chamber, not against the sheriffs, but at all, but in regard to new fees on cases and so forth. So what this sub is done, I think it's something that our House leadership can get along with. I think you know a couple of people that, well, they're no longer here, had some issues with the court fees and so forth. I think we've talked about that. Okay, we have removed the $2 fee on criminal cases, but we have increased the current $1 fee on civil actions to $2.50 on this. And per Mr. Norris's notes, that $1 fee hasn't changed since 1991. Yeah. So we've increased that to $2.50. And we've changed the member death benefit from $15,000 to $30,000. It's not one person's decision, but I would say this is what I'd like to do is move the ball here and do something for the sheriffs that need help, that are, quite frankly, been asking for this for what, Terry, 6 years, 8 years, something like that. Yeah. I would like to ask for the committees digging into this and so forth. Do you mind go ahead and, Mary Frances, could we have them speak a little bit more and then we take questions, or do you want to ask a question right now? Or? Okay. If we could wait, Stacy, is that okay as well?
Actually, can I just ask you this?
Sure, sure.
It looks like I don't have any problem with the fees. Section 6, though, is that someone else's bill that got tacked onto this? Is anybody here to speak to that part? Because that's the part I have concerns about.
No, I believe Mr. Norris can speak to that. It's basically saying it prohibits payments from the fund to retired sheriffs that are convicted of a felony.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and that in itself is not a problem, but, and perhaps previewing this question will allow somebody to speak to it, but starting on line 179, it talks about how if a conviction stands, then all of that person's contributions to the fund are also forfeited, and that seems like a taking to me. Unless there was some ill-gotten gain related to the crime, I could understand, but I don't understand how we can just, when we convict people of felonies, we don't go take their house.
I understand. I think with that, I would let some industry guys could speak in regard to this. Mr. Norris.
Yes, the whole Section 6 was the Board of Commissioners of the fund, which Sheriff Markley is the chairman from Morgan County. Sheriff Judge Smith is one of the members as well. So the whole section in general was to hold those accountable who have ill gain, commit offenses in the performance of their duties as sheriff to forfeit the benefits from the fund. Your specific question has to do with their contributions to the fund, and you may be leading to this response. Why would their contributions be forfeited? It would only be, your interest might be, why aren't the benefits forfeited and then receive their contributions back? So the $45 per month now to $65 would be their contribution plus any money they spent to buy back time. So that's what, is that what you're speaking of?
That is my concern, that money that they put in, that they're not getting that somehow we're taking that. And I also don't think this section is specific that they're being convicted of something that they did in their official duties. But even if they were, I mean, if I'm out there and I go and commit a crime and I had a stock portfolio, the state doesn't come and take that away from me just because I've been convicted. So I think I don't forgive people for doing crimes, and we have specific punishments set up for people that do crimes. I don't see why we would go and take other things too that we, to me, have nothing to do with the crime.
So if I may, and I tend to agree with that, but if I may, this was the sheriff's attempt to show everyone transparency, and if there is someone that's doing something illegal who are sitting sheriffs, that there are things that will occur to that person to rectify that situation. So I've got my chairman and one of my members here, but I don't think either would have a problem excluding paragraph 3, if that helped move the bill along.
I don't think we could take out that whole paragraph and make it make sense, but I'll see if I can come up with a proposed amendment. Thank you for considering it.
Thank you, Representative. Terry, did you have anything else that you wanted to mention in regard to Senate Bill 322?
Well, we did. I wanted our chairman just to speak for a minute, but the sub we haven't seen, but thank you. I'm sure that you have described the sub well. We are concerned. Let me back up. This has been as you said, a long time effort. There's 194 families that depend on this. The only way that the fund exists is through these types of fees. And we do understand in modern times, these fees are not popular sometimes. We understand that. But there is no other way, as you mentioned also as well, there's no state funds going into this. This is a lifeline for 194 families now. People throughout the state may think sheriffs make a lot of money. Some of them make okay. And they may think they have great retirement systems and they're parts of county retirement systems. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times once a deputy, for instance, like Sheriff Markley, who was a deputy sheriff in Morgan County and was part of the county retirement system, once he became sheriff, they cut him out of that system. So for a lot of counties don't offer any retirement. So this is a lifeline This is not a big fund, as you see, $100 million, but these folks, they depend on this, and anything we can do to generate revenue for the fund, I hope y'all will consider it. Last point on this, I mean, I suppose, I presume that we're thinking it's still actuarially sound to move forward with these changes, and that would be our last concern.
Since we have no questions, I just want a clarification on a few things for the committee. One, the fund balance as of September 30th is $102 million. Yes, sir. Secondly, that is 102% funded as compared to the actuarial obligation. Three, what I would like for the committee to consider is to move this bill forward. Now, on Senate Bill 328, for the POAB, we did have an actuarial certification that was deemed non-fiscal amendments, and we were able to move that forward. What we could be in a position to do is to vote this bill out, but I would not be able to sign it as passed committee until we receive an auditor's certification that this cost is at or below what was introduced by the Senate that went into the interim study review. Legislative Council, do I have that correct?
The comparison would be to the bill as introduced and the original investigation was conducted during the summer.
So we would need to, if we chose to take action, we could absolutely do so, but we would not be able to report it out until Department of Audits and Accounts gave us a cost certification in regard to exactly where that cost is. And hopefully, Mr. Norris, it's less than what was introduced previously, because I know this is important for a number of sheriff's families. Does that help everybody? I see some nodding heads. Okay. Yes. Representative Mary Frances Williams.
So I know there's a website where you can look up all of the court fines, court fees. I would like to know, and it looks like just in a quick trying to find things on the internet, that each county has its own fees. I'm from Cobb. I'm just wondering what other diversion fees are there per person?
For the fund, there is nothing else for the fund. I mean,
Well, no, I'm talking about when the person goes to a diversion program, what are the, I'd like a list of fees they have to pay. Pardon? Well, so if they're paying $1,000, it makes a difference to me
So
people going through diversion.
You're not looking at it from the sheriff's retirement fund standpoint. You're looking at it from a consumer standpoint. When they go to a court, how much do they pay in fees in total? Is that correct?
Yes, and actually, it's more the population that we're targeting for the funding, because from my understanding and talking with folks, judges up in Cobb about diversion programs, a lot of these people just don't have much of anything. And I know $2 doesn't sound like a lot. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way to think about using people in diversion programs to fund this. Not that I am against funding it. I don't like that they're targeted.
Oh, I understand, but to my friend from Cobb, we've removed that $2 fee from the substitute.
I know. Well, I know, Representative. So, I would like to know, like you can look up and find like all the divorce filing fees and whatever, or all the marriage license fees. And I don't think it's unreasonable to ask, what are the diversion fees for a person? $2, you're right. If it's only $2, that's not a big deal. But if they're stacking up and there are multiple fees, which there are perhaps, I just would like to know that. I think that's a reasonable question.
Right. Okay. And in regard to the current $1 fee going to $2.50, that was a computation based on inflation, honestly. So I think if you do have a $1 in 1991, you end up with about $2.43 in 2024. And so the chair just put in $2.50 to make it simple. And I know this is not everything that the Sheriff's Association wants, but I'm interested in moving the ball forward and something we can all agree with. Anything else from the committee? I did not have, we have Mr. Markey up here. Any other speak? Okay. Okay, 1 second. I really think I had Representative Buckner light up first. Go ahead.
Before we did any action, I was wondering what was going to happen with 170, lines 180 through 183. I was wondering if we could remove that any contributions that were made on behalf of the member, including interest, would have to be forfeited instead of anything that they contributed.
I think I've been watching over Chairman Tarman.
Until we heard that.
I think Representative Evans looks like she's busy on something. So if I could come back to Representative Evans in just a minute. I had a couple other things light up first. Okay. Representative Green? Oh, okay. Yes, I understand. Chairman Green?
Mr. Chairman, at the proper time, I'd like to make that motion to go ahead and move it forward at this particular time.
Yes, sir. Okay. Now I think Representative Williams, I think you were next.
Me? Okay. So I've looked at Cobb County. They have to pay all their monetary applications. There's an administrative fee of $200. They must have drug screening fees, which have to be made full and prior to the program. And they have to be supervised. They have to pay for and complete a drug and evaluation program. I mean, so there are fees that these people are paying.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Vice Chairman Franklin, which one? What's your name?
I just want to be clear that I'm understanding everything. So are we about to possibly move forward with this with a potential amendment? Is that what we're looking at?
I think Representative Evans may offer an amendment. Yes.
Because I don't have a problem with this bill as it stands. I don't know if we could just go ahead and vote on it, or if we need to wait for this amendment. But
absolutely. Can you click your button?
Isn't it true that the proper procedure would be for someone to make a motion to pass and it be seconded, and I can make a motion for an amendment? It'll either get a second or it won't. If it does get a second, we'll vote on it, and yeah. But to the gentleman's point, he wanted to vote and basically just say no amendment. So I wanted to make sure we talk about Robert's rules.
I understand. It was phrased as a question, so yes, I understand. Any other questions? Any other questions, committee? Did you have another question? You had your light up earlier. Okay. Okay, so Representative Stinson, I think you were first to offer that motion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to pass.
Okay. Chairman Green? Second? There we go. Okay. Okay. Any amendments that the committee would like to recognize? Representative Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I've been working on this, so bear with me. If a member makes contributions, my understanding is there may have been a match along the way, so it's very hard to uncouple that. Mm-hmm. So in that vein, that's where this proposed amendment comes from. That's my preface here. But the amendment would be, and I can write this out, but at line 173, strike the comma and the word all, and continue striking until you get to line 179, I'm sorry, line 180. After the word exhausted, strike that comma to the end of line 183 and insert in its place, and the member may no longer contribute to or have contributions made on behalf of such member, but shall not cease to receive benefits to which they are otherwise entitled as a result of prior contributions. So that from lines 173 to line 183 would read, upon any such conviction described in subsection A of this code section, and after all possible appeals related to the member's conviction have been exhausted, the member may no longer contribute to or have contributions made on behalf of such member, but shall not cease to receive benefits to which they are otherwise entitled as a result of prior contributions. That would be the amendment.
Okay. Representative Evans, thank you for that. Legislative Council, do you have that down, or do you need the representative to repeat it?
I would probably need to write it.
I can write it.
Either of the two times, so.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion to the amendment? I'd like to ask the sponsors if you have a comment on the amendment.
I would defer to the expert.
Okay. Representative Evans, we're in a posture to just, if you could repeat your amendment, and we just want to make sure the committee and the public is very clear on it. Do you mind, and I know you've read it once, but do you, starting after the comma at the end of line 173, could you read what it would say?
Sure. I'll do it two ways. At the end of line 173, you'd be striking comma and. Comma all. And then you would strike all the way through the word stands, comma, on line 179. It's very hard to.
Yeah.
Can I just read what it would
That's
sound
what I
like?
was asking,
think that
yes.
might be easier. Okay,
Do it that way.
You would strike the word comma all at the end of line 173. And then section B, you would also take away the subsection 1. So subsection B would now read, upon any such conviction described in subsection A of this code section, and after all possible appeals related to the member's conviction have been exhausted, comma, the member may no longer contribute to or have contributions made on behalf of such member, but shall not cease to receive benefits to which they are otherwise entitled as a result of prior contributions. So the effect is, if you're convicted and if your appeals are exhausted,
right,
you are no longer going to make money from anything that happens after. And I would have preferred a way that we could have kept some semblance of subsection 2, but I just don't see how it's possible, or 3, to uncouple contributions that were made as a result of basically a deal that this person made with the state. Just like if a convicted person made a contract in their personal life, we don't go cancel it. And I just don't think we should be doing that here with our sheriffs.
Okay. Did you?
Apologies, it's inappropriate.
What is your microphone number?
I don't have one.
Just talk loud.
I was working on an amendment after Representative Evans began speaking that might accomplish her goal, if Representative Evans would be interested in hearing that.
Sure.
This keeps everything from B1 and 2, and it strikes at line 180.
Do you mind finding a microphone, because we are broadcasting? What mic is that? Try that. Okay.
This keeps all of B1 and 2 and strikes at line 180 and 181 all contributions through any on line 181, and instead reads, after all, so this is starting at line 171, After all possible appeals related to the member's conviction have been exhausted, here's where the new language comes in, such member shall forfeit all rights, benefits, and memberships in the retirement system and shall be prohibited from any future membership in the fund, and such membership's contributions to the retirement system shall be reimbursed. And that's the end of that paragraph.
What exactly is reimbursed?
The members' contributions to the retirement system. I have pulled that language from 47.122.1.
I don't want to speak for Representative Evans, but if I'm a sheriff and I get convicted of something, I lose on appeals, and I've contributed to something for 12 years, but it's going to have interest in market gains and so forth, your amendment would allow them only to recoup their payments into the fund, but not the investment and performance returns on the fund?
That's how I read that, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that would still be a taking. I appreciate the effort, and it's really hard to do this on the fly, but that would not accomplish what my amendment is. Somebody else may want to make that if this amendment fails, I guess, or if they want to substitute the amendment.
Representative Evans, did you have anything else?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Representative Williams?
My question is for Representative Evans. Is it your intent to take away their investment? But from the way your amendment read, it sounded like they would actually stay in the retirement fund and continue to receive retirement benefits.
Is that they
Go
would,
ahead.
the intention is that they would stay, everything that they've put into the fund or that has been matched on their behalf because of the contract that they made when they entered the plan would stay, but they wouldn't be making any future contributions, so they wouldn't be getting any future matches, and they would just make their money off the investment that they had made previous in time, because otherwise we're taking their property.
Well, I understand that, but so does that mean do they or do they not then receive retirement benefits?
They just would make whatever, I'm not a finance expert, but
Yeah,
if their money's making money, and I assume they're getting payments from that, that would continue, but it wouldn't grow, I guess is the.
well, yeah, I guess the way it sounded was like they would stay in the retirement fund and receive retirement benefits, which I don't think is your intention. So-
If the chair could, if the committee would indulge the chair, I'm not floating this as an amendment, but there is an idea of just striking all of Section 6.
I would move that. I move that.
And we could just make it simple that way.
I like that.
But I'm not going to force the issue one way or another.
Well,
Go ahead,
I would move to substitute the motion to amend with a new motion, which is to strike subsection 6 from the bill. I mean,
Okay.
section 6 from the bill.
Okay. Representative Stinson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a friendly question. If we should strike that section, is that going to really help the Sheriff Association accomplish what they're intending to reach their goals here?
We can ask that question, yes. Okay.
Y'all, first of all, I'm Sheriff Robert Markley. I'm the chairman of the Retirement Board. Our intention with the Section 6 was to hold the sheriff accountable if he's done something wrong. If there's somebody on the street that commits a crime, they're held accountable, all right? This is just going back and saying sheriffs are not above the law. If they do something wrong, we're going to punish them too. The whole idea of that was to let y'all know we're willing to hold ourselves responsible if we violate the law in the performance of our duties. That was the whole intention. I get what you're saying about a taking and everything else, but this was nothing more other than trying to tell y'all we've got skin in the game. We're willing to hold ourselves accountable, just like every citizen out here in the state of Georgia is. That was the whole point.
Thank you, Mr. Markey. Sheriff. Representative Lim.
I would
just for point of clarification, we're in a due pass situation discussing an amendment. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. I would also support just striking line 6. I just wanted to
Line 6?
Sorry, excuse me, section 6.
Okay.
I just wanted to, for the sake of transparency, say that in section 6, lines 184 through 189 do refer to other parts of this code that have their own forfeiture rules. So I think by striking section 6, those would be applicable, and that's pretty much what it says in 184 to 189. So that would still be applicable to this, even if we strike section 6, and I think that would still achieve the goals of the sheriff.
Okay.
Is that correct?
So Representative Evans has a substitute motion to strike section 6. Any further discussion on that motion? Is there a second? There's a second from Chairman Deloach. Any further discussion on the amendment?
Can I get rid of the amendment? I can't use
Okay, number
84.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to, I don't know how the wording is, but just to get rid of the amendment entirely and vote on the bill.
Well, that would be voting down the amendment.
Voting down the amendment?
Right. That would be, not, yeah, that would be, unless you want to speak to, against the amendment right now.
I just don't think we need the amendment. I like the bill as it is, and so I make a motion to vote down the amendment.
Yeah. Okay. Chairman Deloach.
Does anybody have an opinion on whether or not leaving section 6 in might cause us to lose the entire bill, either here or later in court?
I think Representative Evans might have an opinion, but I don't believe it would cause us that. So the motion is to remove section 6 from the bill. We've discussed it. We have noted opposition. We have a second on the amendment. Any further discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, can we do a hand count? All in favor of the amendment, raise your right hand. All opposed to the amendment? I'll vote against the amendment. Okay. 6-5. To the vote on passage of the amendment was 5-6, and it did not succeed. Yes, I'm sorry, I broke the tie. All right, so we're back on the core bill on the substitute, and again, we are working on LC 560184S. We had a motion to pass, did we not? And a second. Any further discussion on the bill as it is? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? One no. Motion passes. Thank you very much, sir. All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much for everyone's indulgence.